Hi, tell us your name and about what you do.
My name is Faith Bost, and I am a licensed iridologist.
Iridologist. What can you tell us a little bit about what that is, what that means?
An iridologist is someone who looks at the iris of the eye through photos, and up close photos where we put someone's eye up on a screen and we can see it in a lot of detail. And what we're looking at is a map of anatomy and physiology of their body, genetic expressions of mom and dad. So the right eye is considered dad and dad's lineage or genetic expression, and the left eye is mom and mom's lineage or genetic expression in the eye. So we get photos up that have a lot of details, and we ask questions based on what we see in the person's eyes.
Wow, so they say that eyes are the windows of the soul. It sounds like they really are.
Yes, the ancients said that. Ancients talked about the eyes being the window of the soul, and there's a lot of evidence of people using maps of eyes for centuries and thousands of years, looking into details about people's health and other things.
What can you see in the eye? Can you give us some examples of what can be seen in the eye, in our eyes?
Well, it's a full map of the body, anatomy and physiology. It's just people translate, and in our system we translate anatomy and physiology into the consciousness behind it, or we could even say the emotional patterns. And that is available in many different forms in, Chinese medicine also has, kidney representing different things such as forgiveness or partnership. That's our system, forgiveness and partnership. But imagine many systems have used emotional components identified with our body.
What do you mean by consciousness? You can see, what do you mean by consciousness? You can see the person's consciousness?
Okay, so we're really looking at the body, the iris of their eye as their subconscious mind, but we're looking for unconscious patterns that they may not be aware that are running. And so it's all based on questions, and we ask questions based on patterns that we see in the eye. And but subconscious potentially has a lot of unconscious in it as well. So we go off the idea that when you're aware of a thing, you have power over it. When someone becomes aware that they may have a sabotaging pattern, then they can make a new choice about what they choose instead. And then we give them affirmations or decrees to remake the pattern to their highest choice.
So are you seeing what's unconscious to them?
Potentially, it's unconscious. We'll
Okay.
ask questions to find out what they know on the topics. Okay. So let's say there's a pattern in someone's eye, and we may ask them about their relationship with dad, and they may have a specific memory that details that pattern in their eye. And when we're asking questions about that pattern, they'll have the memory.
And what's the benefit of them having that memory or touching that memory? Or
if it's an unconscious memory that may be causing a sabotaging belief around relationships or around their value or about what they're giving themselves permission to do what they love. So imagine that we inherit the thought, word, and emotional patterns of our parents in our genetics. And at the end of the 20th century, science and medicine agreed that our consciousness is created, our reality is created by our consciousness, and our reality includes the consciousness of our thought, word, and feeling patterns. So it's really more important to know what our thought, word, and feeling patterns are on a topic than what happened to our parents.
And so what is the benefit of someone having a reading with you? What are some of the benefits that they can expect after a reading?
Readings are very powerful because they get into a lot of specificity about what patterns someone may have gotten from mom and dad or mom and dad's lineage that they may have seen as separate from them. They may have decided, well, that's how my mother was and I'm different. And we also use the concept that our greatest weakness shall be our greatest strength. So if someone moved away from a pattern that they didn't like about mom, we remind them that that pattern is still there running because they've inherited it until they make a new choice. So it may be suppressed. An example of a pattern moving from one state to another is if someone said, I have a challenge expressing my feelings, and that was modeled by their mother, for instance. Their mother had a challenge expressing her feelings. They have a challenge expressing their feelings. Or they don't have tolerance for people that don't express their feelings. Somehow the pattern will be playing out until it's replaced. So we'll inherit these patterns and they'll run, and we'll adjust ourselves to them however we do, and they'll be running until we replace them. Why do they keep running? Because even though it's 10, 20, 30, 40 years later, our subconscious mind is in now. It's not doing this linear tracking process that the conscious mind does. So our subconscious mind is in now and will keep a pattern running until we replace it with something else. So from greatest weakness to greatest strength on a challenge expressing their feelings, it's turns in that it's going to turn into the strength of being really good at expressing their feelings and enjoying expressing their feelings. Because a challenge is going to turn into something that they enjoy.
Okay.
If we go by the law of your greatest weakness is your greatest strength. But typically people have suppressed the things that they made up that they're not good at. And so it becomes a suppressed strength.
So you're talking a lot about the feelings and greatest weakness to greatest strength. Is there what's the science? Is there science behind this?
Well, that's what's thrilling about reading eyes today is 15 years ago they mapped the human genome, and they basically were able to come out with, our thought, word, and feeling patterns is what's turning on genes or turning off genes. And if we can find thought, word, and feeling patterns that are subconscious or unconscious to us, that's a lot more information than what we know in our conscious mind. In other words, our conscious mind is only interested in what's doable and possible within our current reality, and it's in a process. And so we may just have decided that there's certain weaknesses that we just don't play in. Like, I don't express myself about my feelings. That's just how I am. And we begin to live a certain way within our patterns. So that's like the conscious mind when our feeling world begins to play. And remember, humanity had been making up we didn't have to feel for many centuries. We don't have to feel. Just go shopping or just eat something or take a pill or something. That feeling wasn't really valuable. And we were taught not to feel too much because it's going to upset somebody or whatever we were taught about feelings. And now, after mapping the human genome and discovering how our subconscious mind, which has been called a powerhouse, it's been called a genie, and can create a miracle for us, but we access it through feeling. So when humanity's been using the rational mind over the top of our feeling world to say, they did the best they could, and that rationalization didn't turn our feeling world back on to playing again. And so when our feeling world plays, that's when we experience a whole lot more excitement, vitality, power, and understanding of who we truly are.
I imagine since you're doing iridology as a living, that you had to experience having your eye read at some point. Can you tell us about your experience having your first eye reading? What happened for you?
I was amazed at how much information was in my eye. The iridologist was able to ask me about traumas that I had at specific ages, and also a lot about my tendency and personality. There was just a lot of information, and of course they gave me information about anatomy and physiology and strengthening certain organs and because they looked at it as the genetic expression as a weakness, and and that was happening before they discovered that it's our thought, word, and emotional patterns that are expressing genes. So they believed in all areas really that our genetic expression was who we were, and there wasn't much we could do about it, and that we weren't able to change it. And so, like I said, it's only been 15 years since we've mapped the human genome and really discovered. It was Candace Pert, PhD from the National Institute of Health, who said there isn't a thought that our immune system doesn't mimic. So our conscious thoughts, our immune system mimics every bit of it. Well, wow, that really shifts things on how we're going to approach our health or what we need to do. Is what are we thinking, what are we feeling, and bringing in consciousness, which is really just another word for awareness. When we're aware of something, we have power over it. So bringing awareness through the very detailed map of our eyes. If you look at an eye, they're like snowflakes. You're not going to find one that's exactly like the others.
So does that mean that everyone is unique in what they're here to do, or unique in their great strengths?
Yes, unique in the specific decrees that we give someone. You'll get about 3 or 4 pages worth of affirmations or decrees that are so specific to your own eyes, and those decrees help us remember the truth of who we are, bring to awareness our hidden strengths, or bring a weakness into a strength, and something that we maybe gave up on and said, well, I'll never be able to do that or have that, or all of those things can be returned to having, doing, and enjoying. And that's through these detailed maps of our eyes that are unique to each person.
And so they can expect to go home with decrees that you give them that are specific to what you're able to read in their eye, as far as patterns and greatest weaknesses to greatest strengths.
One of the things I also love is that the person's able to see their own eye in such detail, because we're really doing it through questions. We're not going to say, well, this is what's happening for you and this is what's happening for you. We're going to ask questions, and they'll be able to confirm for themselves whether it's a yes or a no. And then the power of someone seeing their own map. And we said the ancients said that eyes are the window of the soul. The Greeks said, know thyself. And to me, the eye is a perfect example of knowing thyself. What an amazing map of what we're here for. What is our greater strengths, our great mission? What weaknesses are we restoring to strength? What's returning for us? Where are we on our map?
So what else can a person expect when they come in for an eye reading? Is there any sort of preparation that's required? What can they expect? What length of time does it take?
I usually ask people to give themselves an hour and a half for the full reading, because there's the photos and the setup and all of that too. But about an hour for the eye reading.
And I imagine it's a very profound and intimate experience for the person who's seeing the map of their eye. And you do coaching, the questions are coaching questions.
We ask questions that are, like I said, it's all done by questions. We're not going to tell somebody, but our questions will be no or yes questions. Like if somebody, if we ask a question, it'll just be yes or no. And we'll ask people to do their best to just say yes or no. Just kind of go with their gut. If it's kind of a yes, say yes. If it's kind of a no, say no. And not to edit it with their conscious mind or their thinking, not to think about the questions. Because we're going to find what their subconscious is experiencing. And our subconscious mind is at the level of a 3-year-old. It's going to be different than what our conscious mind. We tell people when they come into the session, you already know everything you know. You're here to find out. And what could benefit you is what you're unconscious of. So do your best to just answer the question yes or no, and then we'll build from there. But it doesn't mean anything to your mind. It doesn't mean anything that you said yes or no. We're going to build this and you're going to find out more. The other thing is we'll ask regular questions as well, and we just ask for an unedited response to do their best to just give their first words to the question. And it's okay whatever they answer. I always say it's okay whatever you say, because it's all really specific code of language that we use. We use their code of language because that directs us to what's going on in their subconscious. For instance, if someone answers a question saying, when I'm able to, I do, then I may translate that to saying, in what way are you not experiencing yourself able? Instead of they're saying, yes, when I'm able to, or that would be nice. And however they're saying it is really very specific in code to what they may have going on in their subconscious. And then we'll start to tie all that together to where the person becomes aware of what they were unaware of before. But it's really a building, it all ties together. We also use body language. So if I ask someone a question, the conscious mind, again, is not conscious of what's going on in the subconscious. So if I ask someone a question and they consciously don't know the answer, I don't know, but they may reach up and do this. Then I'm going to use the body language translation of right eye, which is the right side is male figures, what we're doing in the world, our outgoing side, that they're potentially wiping away the way they've been seen by the male side of life. And that will be where I direct my next question. Where the person may not know because it's unconscious, the pattern. We're looking to bring their subconscious powerhouse back online. That's when they can be playing with miracles.
What do you mean subconscious powerhouse?
Their subconscious mind is 90%. And their conscious mind is 10%. So 90% is really where the power is. And their subconscious mind, because it also works, it's part of our feeling world. When we've suppressed feeling as a humanity, and we're waking back up to ease in feeling or remembering feeling, we've been translating feeling into the mind, how we think we should feel. It's not the same as how we really feel. And so our subconscious is the 90%. It's been called a genie, a powerhouse. It's where through deep feeling, we manifest. So our conscious mind is will, and we'll direct with our words, but with our feeling. So we may be going along going, I'd really like to have my dream job while feeling shame or not worthy. The feeling is going to win. That's the 90%. So how we really feel about something. So we'll ask specific questions that also have to do with how do you feel about it, because that's going to be what wins. That's going to be the 90%, how we really feel about something. And sometimes that takes people a little bit. Say, how do you feel about losing your job? I'm okay with it. Well, I know it's all going to work out. That's not a feeling answer. That's a mental answer. And so it may take a few times, well, how do you feel about it? Oh, sad. And so sad is what's going to be leading. And so when we find out how we feel about it, that's a big question, because they'll access our subconscious powerhouse that could make it have something new and different show up. have a miracle. And our conscious mind is only capable of what's doable and possible within our current reality. So having their dream job, if they've never had their dream job, may not be in their doable and possible network. And they're going to remember it by also finding the feeling that's the driver, which is bring the 90% on board, our powerhouse. But we'll get it done.
Wow, it's very enlightening, you speaking about enlightened iridology. Thank you so much. Again, I've been enlightened by just hearing you and being in your presence. So I look forward to my next eye reading. Thank you.
You're welcome.